My name is Tibor. I will be talking to you about Resolve 17, which is up to like 17.2, I believe, whatever the freshest and newest version. Resolve is very good with talking about what the new versions are, and you know where to find that and download them. The free version is still available. I'm using the version that is the paid version that is known as the Studio. So let's just quickly refresh our understanding how projects are started and how things are measured. I have a number of tools that are different, and the first tool is obviously going to be something that people are getting more and more open to, which is the cut page. The cut page is a very popular tool, very easy, very simple to manipulate. I'm not gonna teach you how to edit. This is not a class of editing. This is a class of showing some features, and they are primarily covered in the area of the color. Again, just go back to the explanation that you can start a project, you can start a database, but right now, the new tool that is available is you can open up and import a sequence, which is known as a timeline. If I have a project running, I can import a different timeline into it. So in order for you to start the project, you have a couple of choices. One choice is you go into your DaVinci Resolve software. I'm using the Macintosh and I'm using the dock, D-O-C-K. Double click, opening up the DaVinci Resolve. The first thing you will notice, it identifies itself, meaning the version identifies itself as Studio 17. It takes about 15 to 20 seconds to open things up. And you will open up this project window page. The project window page can display things in pictures or in numerics, and you can actually see what are the times that someone saved a project and what are the aspect ratios or the raster sizes of things. So if that is useful to you, you take a look at it. Now, by definition, DaVinci Resolve always opens up with Untitled Project, and the Untitled Project is highlighted orange. And if you want to set up some presets, here are the steps that you go about it. Why would you set up a preset? Why don't you trust what Resolve gave you? Well, if you don't know what they are, the first step obviously would be right-click, drop down, and in the project settings, you should see the choices that are default set for you. You could go one step up higher and you can actually see presets, and you can assign new presets and add them on. And the way to go about that obviously would be pick and choose the ones. I generally believe that the master settings are fine. I generally believe that whatever I have done is going to be saved as 1920 1080. I generally believe these are the other options. Obviously, you can go up to 8K. Are you kidding me? That's cool. I am also happy to say that I'm accepting the 24 frames. And I'm also saying that if the video format is high definition, 1080p at 24, it's okay. So this is where you can make those adjustments for the default. Generally, remember that Resolve brings in the color in 10-bit because all the Blackmagic Resolve, actually Resolve is a software, but Blackmagic manufactures the cameras. All those cameras are recording picture in 10-bit color. So if that is what you're happy with, the default is okay. The proxy media is something where you actually create proxies and you can define that those are a specific type, specific format. And the color management is the only other thing that you need to pay attention to. Generally, when the color science is brought up, people switch it over to DaVinci YRGB. Y is luminance, and then the red GB color managed. So the monitor will be kind of different. You can obviously select different settings, and that's a whole art by itself. We don't have time for that. That is something that DaVinci is very good about, but I generally believe that if you switch from the DaVinci YRGB, you go and do the color managed, that's going to be a better choice. Now, with all that, when you open up that project, the project opens up, and by definition, it should be an empty project. Set it, double click on it, open it up. Now, when you bring in material into Resolve, you know that you have options with the media pool, and you have drag and drop tools. I have some preset stories put together already for you. So instead of me trying to demonstrate how to do this, this is something you can either on your own figure out or look at my other webinars that we had done in the past. I need to bring in a project that was done earlier. So there are two options about it. One is either you import a project at the root level, which is in the house here. So you can right click and you're going to import a project. That's one option. The other option, when I restore a project, archive. So you're going to have a folder that contains not the project, but a folder contains the project and all the media that is part of it. In this scenario, I will import a project that is somewhere that I know where it is. And if I know where it is, in this case, I happen to have it. It's the webinar that I put together for you guys. And this is how I bring it in. If this is too tedious, I generally say, why don't we bring it in from the beginning? Can we bring in from the back door, just double clicking on the Resolve webinar DRP? DRP stands for project. Yes. Let me close it. Let me get out of the Resolve. Command Q, which is don't save anything. And now comes the way of bringing it in. When I say bringing it in, it's the same way as in Premiere Pro. So if you happen to know where your project is, I kind of think I know what it is. It's on my hard drive and it is called Resolve 17 Webinar DRP. DRP stands for DaVinci Resolve project. Double click on it, should open it up. When it opens up, it also bypasses this whole need for finding where it is. It should open up the project through the application backdoor. It takes, again, it asks you, do you want to have it duplicated or make a copy of it? I will not. I will use the original one. Double clicking on it opens it up, and now I am back in where I need to be. The real estate management obviously is always major concern. You know the different tool sets, the media, the cut, the edit, the fusion. Fusion takes about 2 seconds to kick in. Then you have the color and the Fairlight and then the deliver. There are keyboard shortcuts to move around these, which are Shift 2, Shift 3, Shift 4, Shift 5, Shift 6, Shift 7, Shift 8, and that's pretty much up to this point. I will jump onto the edit because I need to show where I am, because that will get us an understanding of what we are doing. And with that, I am showing a timeline. You know that if things are messed up in terms of real estate in the workspaces, you can always go workspace, click on, and say hello to your reset user interface layout. That usually gets it back to default. And that's highly recommended in cases where you run into trouble. You notice that my upper left-hand corner, the media pool is open. If I close it, I am now fully set up for source, left side, record, right side, timeline, bottom. Go back into the media pool, activation turns white. And in the timelines, upper left-hand corner, open up, and I should see 6 timelines, 6 stories, 6 sequences. Well, some people confuse it because the sequences are only called timeline when you put them in the timeline. But yeah, let's call them timeline. You can look at them now, not just text view, not just icon view, but you can also look at the metadata view, which is very similar to what you guys have seen in the past if you are avid users to the script view. Very cool thing. It generally looks good when you have the video, so you can see that the text view is still the same, the icon view is still the same, but the metadata is now, it's like, you know, I see the picture and I see metadata next to it, because essentially you know that you can see only numbers or you can see only picture. That was the original setup. That was the original default design. Now, because we're moving along in version 17, they introduced this tool. I highly recommend it. Very powerful. It tells you time codes and stuff, and it gives you a whole bunch of tools. Does the resizing respond to it? No, the resizing is pretty much done in the picture thing. There we go. That's where the picture becomes bigger or smaller. Just a quick refresher, something that some people forgot about. If you click inside a clip and you add a mark in, add a mark out on the fly, those mark in, mark outs shows up as ghost marks. You see those in and out ghost marks? That's something that was left over from earlier version. I still love to do that. It's just absolutely marvelous. Nobody has this done this way, where you can see that. Anyways, in the timelines, I created a timeline for you guys that has some new things that I am looking for. That is called a match timeline webinar. Left double clicking on it, puts it into the timeline physically. And you know that real estate management wise, I'm going to close the media pool. So now I have access to the entire timeline. The text is not relevant right now. I can turn it off, or I can just hide it. One option is hiding it. Another option is that delete it. And if I delete that, I'm going to be losing it. Fine. I'm not worried about it. It is gone. Now, here comes the cool thing in the color. So these are the things that I, as a user, I, as a demonstrator, have done in the past. And this is something that in color is very new. So if you're new to Resolve, again, I'm not going through the editing and importing and linking and all the rest of the stuff, assembling. You can get that in my earlier webinars, or if you took a class with anyone, you can on your own very easily navigate. But here is what the new color tools are. Absolutely mind-boggling how good they are. The first thing you notice when you switch over from the any cut or edit view or even media to the color, some of the icons may have a wireframe around them, and those wireframes are usually the color of the rainbow or the 6 colors, RGB, yellow, and magenta, and cyan, and that signifies that there is some color grading added onto it. Now, here's the one that I like to start with right away. If you have a clip, like for example, in my case, I have a clip where a person is talking, you notice that on the node in the upper right-hand corner, again, I don't have my reference monitor watching how the feed comes through, so I hope that I am going a normal speed and you don't have any delays. So when I move my mouse, it moves very slowly, gently. The balance is set up, identifying that I do have already some kind of a adjustment on it. If I turn it off, it actually shows you without the adjustment. If I turn it on, it shows it with the adjustment. That doesn't make really sense to me because maybe my eyes are able to not catching it. So here is how I recommend you deal with that. Generally, I see people put the scopes in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm sure. Say hello to your right click inside the environment, switch it over to off, meaning the monitoring, click on the off. And so you're not picking anything. And if you right click down the center, there is a show scope option that comes up. Now the show scope option now is much more powerful than it was before. In this case, I don't have any, actually 9 of them, because they don't really show up, but you would have the option of 9. I'm going to only show you 2 scopes, and the 2 scopes are going to be not the parade. One of them is going to be the waveform, and the other one is going to be the vector scope. So we're talking about color and brightness. The waveform has a flavor that you can change upper right-hand corner of it, waveform, and switch it over to regular black and white. So now the brightness and darkness is displayed in the upper left-hand corner. And my real estate, and this is where the real estate management comes in very handy. Do you see my timeline is kind of really cluttered? Can I make the pictures bigger and drag things down? What do you mean? Can I make the picture that I'm looking at bigger and get rid of these guys? Yes. If you turn the clips off, there we go. So now we have much more space. There we go. Picture is bigger. And that's the only one I'm parked on. Do I care about the rest of them? Sure. When they have their own time, then we're going to move around. So notice that I am checking what the picture looks with or without the adjustment. And you can see that the adjustment is slight. It's a slight color adjustment and slight brightness adjustment. Now, here is where things became really, really cool. In the past, and you have done this in the earlier versions, if I need to move the scopes up. If I want to brighten her face only, notice this one. This is going to be the major difference between what you did in the past. In the facial recognition, we had an option to put a wireframe around her and then follow the face or draw a shape. This is how it was done in the past. Option S creates a new node. On that node, I will create either a circular object, and I'm going to define that it is her face to be analyzed. And if I shrink it, obviously, you know how to do that, and put that around her. And I'm going to maybe brighten it up a bit, maybe have the soft edge around it. And if I brighten it up, generally people use the curves, brighten it up. But that is kind of ludicrous because it gives like a halo on her, and the halo doesn't follow her. So in the past, what we did was selected the object. Then we said to the object, please, can you be tracked? And the tracker came in. We tracked the entire by frame reference, and then we hit the play button, and the play button tracked her face. And that was the tracker in the past. And that's fine, and that was okay, and that was all good. Now, I'm going to turn that tracker off, and I'm going to add a new way of doing things. Option S. This Option S is now going to go say hello to your new tracker called Magic Mask. Whoa, what is Magic Mask? Well, this is magical to me. That's why it's called Magic Mask. So when you click on the Magic Mask, nothing really happens because you need to define what the Magic Mask does with the little eyedropper. And I'm going to make a kind of a diagonal, or maybe like that's not diagonal, a kind of a semicircle selection over her face. You don't see exactly what happened yet because I haven't traced it, and the tracing will make sure that it is going to give you different results. So if you track it, and it will take some time because this is a little bit more sophisticated than what we did earlier. And you see how it takes time, and it's kind of going, in my case, it's almost like 1/4 through. This selection, this Magic Mask, is able to define movement and separate a person from a background. Wait a minute. What do you mean separate a person from the background? It separates a person, and I can put it in like I just did. Mine is done. I don't know if it comes through Zoom. When I rewind it and I go into the curves and I brighten it up, watch what happens. The entire person, the whole person, entire person is being selected. Absolutely mind-boggling, or maybe darken her. Oh, even though I only selected the top of the head, it totally separated her from the background. Crazy. Well, I don't know if it is or if it's not, but I love it. Now, here is where RAM and processing power comes in. So I'm going to turn back the clips, make sure that she is in there, and I check in my playback that my timeline proxy is off, and the render cache is set to user. Therefore, I need to render this because it may not play out full quality in your Zoom reception area. So when I go and switch from the color to the edit, there should be a line across if I hit the space bar.
It's always been such an iconic animal of Africa. And now currently they've been poached to extinction.
I don't know if it in your end came in. Do you see that it's coming?
It's always been such an iconic
so she's
animal.
Separate. Now, you can argue with me, and I'll take the argument that it's not a perfect selection. But guys, this is magical. That's why it's called Magic Mask. I separated a person. Clearly, she is not really that defined, but I can play around with that.
And now currently they've been poached to extinction. So my hope is
that your feed or your reception understands what we did. Because I would like to talk about this a little bit more, I'm going to move down the road and find a shot, in this case, a shot of a horse. I already did the tracking of that, and the tracking in my case was set up in such a way that I have to say, okay, the horse is going to be a darker horse or a lighter horse. If I play the horse shot and it's going to be looped around.
The orphan runners are a target for the poachers.
Keep that in mind, the horse is moving.
The orphan runners are a target.
If I want to do exactly what I just did with the earlier person, I can say I'm going to reset whatever they gave me. I don't really want to, compare it to whatever was given. Option S gives me a serial node. And with that, I can again go back to the beginning. So point is that I would like to say hello to my new friend called the Magic Mask. Now the Magic Mask, I will select the horse. And the way I select the horse is very simple. I grab and draw. Now you notice that I'm not rotoscoping or selecting nose around and everything and wireframing it. That's the whole point. So how does a computer know that I select the head of the horse and the body and the legs and everything? I don't know, but it does. So let's find out if it can do it again. So hit the analyzer. So the analyzer follows the horse And we know that the horse is the moving object, horse is the moving talent, horse is the moving animal. And my expectation is, based on this new tool, that it can track it as good as it can in terms of the processing powers ability, but I don't see the result. Why? Because I haven't done anything to it. Okay, so why don't you brighten it or darken it? Okay, so let's make it, let's say, kind of brighter. There we go. Oh, look at that. Contrast the horse. Wow. Add some color to the horse. What kind of color? Let's put it less red. Take the red off. Okay. Make it a kind of, I don't know, yellow horse. Okay, different color. I don't want to go elaborate on it. Command S saves it, because remember, Murphy always is around, and Murphy has a law that if things can go bad, things will go bad. So with that, let's play it out in the edit window, and let's look at it and see what the difference is.
Target for the poachers.
See how it follows
We
it?
will kill them for the small
it's
amount.
choking a little bit. If it's choking a little bit, that means that I need to maybe render it. And you remember that if you are in the color, if you have dealt with this before, if it is white, it's rendered. But if I need to re-render because I'm adding new information to it, right-clicking, presumption, and the playback was set up to be me, you, the user, rendering it. At that time, you can right-click on that clip and you can say, render cache color output. And it starts rendering it, and it will be red until the render is done. I generally like to switch over for demonstration purposes over into edit. And in edit, you should see that there is a blue line encroaching on the red. So when the blue line is finished, I would presume and expect that it's now, it should play it real time now.
The orphan runners are...
Now you can see the wireframe around the horse. What do you mean wireframe? I don't see a wireframe, but you can see how precise it is. If I look at a big screen, look at how clean it is.
Target for
the horse is selected. Well, what happened to the color of the horse? Well, it's not the original color that we have. How do I know that? Well, I know that because when I go back into the color and I take that effect off, guess what? The horse is different color. Oh, let's do something really stupid. Let's change the horse's color, not to whatever I changed, but like very radical, like make it like really like a red horse. So you can see the difference of the wireframe. There's no wireframe. That's why it's called the magic mask. So now the question is, how do you delete elements, or how do you choke elements, or how do you soften elements? What do you do with it? Because that element, when you go into the adjustment, you have a whole bunch of things to deal with. Radius, consistency, blur radius, clean back. But if you play it, this needs to be re-rendered. Why? Because it's not different quality. See if I can play it for you. If I hit the play button, does it play
target for the
yes,
poachers.
On my end.
The orphan runners are target for the poachers.
It has some edges on it.
The orphan runners are target for the poachers.
Look at it.
The orphan runners are target for the poachers.
I'm hoping that you're getting the idea that, yes, it's a magic mask, because in the past, I had to do the following. Let me show what I had to do in the past. I had to do the following: find a tool, go and draw around the horse's head and locate and get all this stuff. And every time the horse moved, I had to track it and change it. So this was a tedious process. And the horse moves. What happens? That's it. The wireframe doesn't work. Could you track it? Well, in the past, we were using a tracker, and it kind of worked. Kind of, when I say kind of. So what I am suggesting to you, say hello to this new one. You'll love it, kiss it, hug it, and really work with it, because this magic mask to me is probably the best thing ever. Now, usually it's best when it's stationary. So if I have a stationary shot, look at the stationary shot I have. I have some animals grazing in the field, and if I play it Command F, okay, and the one that is the most stationary is the rhino on the left side. Now, these rhinos are in rehabilitation because their horns were cut off, but you see that I have a stationary one. I can actually grab the rhino that is moving toward me and see if I can have him colored to blue or green or red, because motion is what the whole trick is here. So if I have the rhino and I think I want to use that moving rhino, whatever I have defaults, get rid of that, reset, 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 and whatever came to me, I am okay with. The balance is going to be probably using maybe some basic color adjustments. And here's the quick S curve. Everybody knows the S curve. Everybody loves the S curve. Nice balance. Option S, Alt S on the Windows machine, and say hello to your new friend one more time, which is the magic mask. The magic mask, again, now needs to be told. I generally like to zoom in, and using your mouse, you can zoom in, zoom out. That's why I like the mouse control. Zooming in, zooming out. So if I zoom in and I'm at the first frame, selecting the magic mask, and I'm gonna go and draw a shape around her. Hopefully the legs and everything else will be picked. See if I am correct. Hit the tracker, and the tracker should take some time to kick in. And this is where your management of RAM and speed of computers. I need to have a sip of water. So we're almost kind of 2/3 through the exercise. Rhino, green rhino. Push the green, and here's the green rhino. Now, it looks like that it didn't catch things because apparently when I picked the area, you see that? I didn't pick right because I didn't count that the right shoulder comes in. Look at it on a big screen. So if I play it, right, it didn't pick. So using that kind of marker is important. So you need to know what you are grabbing. So I could have maybe picked it from here, and because the right shoulder and the right ear wasn't picked, it didn't pick it. But the left side, you can how clean the left side is. Okay, it's going slowly, it's jerking, but you see my point. So you will eventually learn what works. With that, I will get rid of this setting, and I'm gonna go to the stationary rhino. Go to the beginning. You can go backwards because you can also trace it backwards. How? There's a backward tracer. You see that backward tracer? I will like to always at the beginning. Click on the rhino. Which one? The rhino that is the one that is stationary. Pick the selection. Pick the selection and go from the behind and get the whole rhino. If that was done correctly. Last time I'm doing this, and then I'm going to show you another tool that Resolve 17 introduced. Clearly, this is a very focused, a very detailed in terms of what I got. But if you like it, you will hopefully start to use the tools, and fine tuning in the section will going to be, again, this rhino is going to be, let's make it a rhino that is going to be a very bright rhino. Command S, save everything, Command E, export everything, making sure that I don't crash. And if I do, I have something to come back to you with. Command F, full screen, look at it. Clearly, it's trying to move around because maybe the grass is blowing or something, but pretty much see the edges are corrected. And I did not have to keyframe every element. And it separated the rhino from the grass. That's cool. Does it mean that you can do non-moving objects? I don't have too much testing on it. I can test, see if I have the cloud. But if the stationary mountain is there, it's just much easier for me to click on the stationary mountain and do this. Grab the mountain and say hello to the power tool. Hey, here's the mountain. I'm going to grab the mountain and I'm going to lasso everything around the mountain. Yeah, but that's stupid. Mountain is a color. Oh, okay, okay. How about this? What do you mean? Color? Yeah, color. Pick a color. Okay, pick a color. We picked the color. Okay, but we don't see what we picked. Upper left-hand corner, switch it over. Oh, okay. So we picked all those colors. There's some leftover here on the bottom left. You can clean it up and move and focus on what color. You can also saturate it a little bit and make sure that the color is the right one, or you select only the bright areas of the color adjusted. And if you want to change what you have chosen, let's make the mountain greenish. Pick the green, and I'm going to poke the green and show you the second tool that I wanted to show you today is, look at this thing now. Whoa, so the color is not just a regular vector scope, it's a color warper. So whatever I pick, if I pick these pixels that are yellowish pixels, I can make them and move them to the green. Look at that. Oh, very cool way of doing things. I can move them to the reddish thing, so the mountain becomes reddish. So actually, you know where you are going. Very cool. Is that working? If you click on that, it actually identifies the pixel. Oh, that's the pixel. So if I click someplace in the area, It identifies the pixel. That's the pixel. There we go. I'm going to move that magentish. Wow, this is cool. Really, really, really powerful. I like this a lot. You can have it magnetic. You can also deselect it or select more options. You can do the color stuff. And because when you click on here, you can have 6 or 12 or 16 junction points. So you can do like really precise stuff. Really, really magic. So if you like all that, I think that you will start to navigate around this environment as I am doing it right now. Add some more green to it, push the green, one option of the selected area, make the green darker. So I can make the dark greens using the lift. The dark areas get greener. In this case, the area that I am working with is going to be the bright areas, more greener. So it's like really silly green. So if I look at it, Command F, there we go. It's like a silly. The mountaintop is all green. Oh, I was able to select it based on color because that color wasn't available anywhere else. Yes, that's when you use the color selection. It might look artificial, but that's how I can demonstrate the power of it. Other options in the deliver page, there is a number of presets now that are available, and the YouTube Vimeo is something that a lot of people kind of used a lot. I generally don't know what your needs are, so you will say, well, I need to have something outputting. And if you have instructions that you need to do Uve or custom, somebody will tell you the frame and the portion of the format or whatever, but that goes back to the original. What is your starting project? Keep in mind that like Avid, when you open up a Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve project, it is locked in. You cannot change it as you go. You are pretty much locked in the project format from the beginning, and then in the export or in delivery, you can define what you want to go about. In the color, you know that if you make adjustments, I'm going to clear out all these guys. And if I select from the beginning, Option, actually Shift closes it. Here is the quick way to add the same color information to everybody, guys. Change the color, nodes, reset everything. Everybody is now back to normal. If you want to add the same information to everybody, instead of copying and pasting things, switching from clip to timeline. So now you have a blanket, Option S. There we go. This timeline color is going to be black and white, and the black and white can be done multiple ways. One of them is probably going to just bring the saturation down to 0. And if you bring it down to 0, now everybody is black and white. Even though when you look at the picture in the timeline, it looks still the color. If you want to have it contrasted, sure, here's the contrast. Watch it, nice black and white contrast. So now in this scenario, I have this kind of sepia tone look to everybody, not just one, not just the second, third, fourth, everybody's sepia tone. This tool you can turn off, obviously. And this is interesting. It doesn't show up as a layer. You would think it's like in Premiere, it would be an adjustment layer. That's what you would call. In my scenario, I don't see it. Why is everybody? Okay, so what's going on? If I hit F, match frame, it shows me the original shot. If I hit F one more time, match frame, whoa, I don't see any color on it. Plus, if you go into the color tool, which is here, the color tool, it doesn't have that wireframe around the clip, which we talked about just earlier today when we said it has to show a color if I make an adjustment to it. When I say color to that clip, the color would look like, that's it, see that color wire around the number? That signifies that that clip is adjusted. So my time is running out. Magic Mask, say hello to it, use it, figure it out how it works best for you. My recommendations are really, really, to test as much as you possible. And here is one thing, just a quick retro. And this is one of those things that when I did trade shows, people say, oh, that's it. I'm taking out the $295 to do it. So whatever I have on here, I see the sepia tone. Oh, maybe I have to go back to the timeline and take the sepia tone off. Okay, so let's kill it. So there's no sepia tone. Now, this analysis is the last one I'm going to give you because I need to show this one to you. If you never dealt with it and if you don't have the studio version, I have a family of effects that is really cool. It is called Face refinement. So watch what the face refinement does. If you haven't seen this before, hopefully it's going to be fun. Now, the face refinement is an effect that you throw onto the clip and the computer says, okay, what do you want to do? Well, I would like you to find things that are face related. This face refiner works well when the eyes are straight and the face is not moving too much. As long as you have forehead, eyes, eyebrows, nose, chin, lips, and cheeks. It throws a green wireframe around the face. When I saw it in version 14, I said, that's it. It's only available in Studio. In the free version, you can actually see it, but there's going to be a ghost mark, so you cannot see that. So now if I want to make adjustments, I take the overlay and I'm going to say that whole area, I'm going to move it around and I'm going to brighten it up. How? Well, contrast it more, the face. There we go. Less face. Oh, okay. So I can actually mid-tone, bring up the mid-tone. There we go. Mid-tone of the face, maybe some contrast, maybe some color boost. Okay, so face. So if I look at it and I
It's always been such an iconic animal of Africa. And now currently they've been poached to extinction.
Now the shadow is probably the issue, but you see how it is done. And I'm going to do something very, very silly. Look at the sharpening of the eye. I'm going to sharpen her eyes and brightening her eyes. So her eye is going to be really crazy. Look at her eyes.
It's always been such an iconic animal of Africa.
If I do I believe it is Command D without the effect.
And now currently they've
Command D with the effect. Look at her.
Been poached to extinction. It's always been such an iconic animal of Africa. And now currently they've been poached to extinction.
So clearly this one also needs to make some adjustments or needs some adjustments. And the way to do that would be go back into the overlay. And in the overlay, you define what you need to move around. And this is the last one that I have to show for you guys. So I hope you had some interesting experience with this. Again, you can obviously look at YouTube and look at Vimeo and all the other places where they advertise and talk about the new features, or maybe you sat through some kind of webinar done by other companies. But my golden moment is really the magic mask. I love it a lot. And I really kind of find a little future for it. Clearly, this adjustment, the color warper, is also a nice one because if I pick on something, it identifies the color frame. So I can actually add that color, going to change to more purplish or change it to greenish. So I can click on the, let's say, the blue sky, and the blue sky shows up, and I can actually change the blue sky there. Very, very powerful. So both of these things are really the one I like. And that's what the webinar was all about. Hopefully, this is going to get you into more color, get you into more DaVinci Resolve. And if you do, please have some fun. I thank you for your time. My name is Tibor. Let me just show you who we are. And that's who we are. Okay? If you want to have any classes with us, please come back to us, say hello. Otherwise, I wish you the best. Stay ahead of the game, and thank you very much for joining us, guys.